Hello, my name is Daniel Stallings, President of NAIFA-Indiana and your host for NAIFA-Indiana Update, your quarterly video newsletter. We believe that you will find this new quarterly newsletter format to be an invaluable resource. As usual, your NAIFA-Indiana Association has been hard at work. I want to start by giving you a few brief updates. On January 20th, we had our first virtual CE for the year with Peter Hirschon giving a great presentation on the secondary market for life insurance. We followed that up with a 3-hour in-person and virtual CE with topics ranging from tax planning to Bitcoin. We'll continue our education mission by offering the 3-hour ethics CE on March 17th. Don't forget, this ethics course is required every 2 years to keep your license current. On the advocacy side, on February 9th, NAIFA-Indiana sponsored our annual Al Sear Day on the Hill. We were joined by the Society of Financial Services Professionals, the National African American Insurance Association, Big I of Indiana, the Insurance Institute of Indiana, the Association of Indiana Life Insurance Companies, and the Mutual Insurance Companies Association of Indiana. Our industry was well represented. We heard from key legislative leaders as well as the insurance commissioner, met with many of our elected representatives, and hosted a great luncheon for our legislators in the State House Rotunda. We also formally pinned our newest NAIFA members. Please enjoy the following video synopsis.
Communication with your elected officials is very important. As much as possible, the face-to-face like this, whether it be in a group setting, set up a meeting back home. Believe it or not, I don't get a ton of face-to-face meeting requests. And I don't mind taking them when I'm during session or after session, because like I was just saying, some of the best things that we do down here is when we get to sit down with somebody, hear a situation happening in their community, their industry, that maybe we weren't aware of. And if we can correct some things that are not working in certain industries, or we have a regulation maybe at the state level that was passed 50 years ago that hasn't really been enforced, and all of a sudden we got an agency enforcing it, and it doesn't make sense for today. That stuff kind of happens. I don't know that unless people tell me. And I think it's the great thing about being a citizen legislature, part-time legislature, is that we all live in our districts, we all go home and work and live and worship and play and all that with each other, and we get to know the problems of our areas, challenges of our areas. These events are great, it gives me an opportunity to talk to you, but then the one-on-one meetings with your own elected people just as important.
I joined NAIFA because they advocate on behalf of all of the insurance agents and all the financial professionals in the state and in the country to make sure that legislatures and people are working in our best interest to help make our jobs easier, which we can then protect other people's lives and protect their retirement. We need to get more voices out there to let people know about it. And number two, we need to get involved in the political process. You don't have to get very deep, but you need to be able to at least know who your political representatives are, and that'll allow you to do your job a lot easier.
We hope to see you all again next year at the Al Sear Day on the Hill. February is Black History Month, and we want to celebrate the role that African Americans have played in our industry. Here to talk about Black History Month in the financial services industry are Communications Chair Chris Barnthouse and Ralph Wise of the National African American Insurance Association.
Hi, this is Chris Barnthouse, the Communications Chair for NAIFA-Indiana. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Ralph Wise, President of the National African American Insurance Association of Indiana. Welcome to NAIFA Update, Ralph.
Well, thank you for having me, Chris.
Thank you so much for joining us to help us celebrate Black History Month. Ralph, tell me about yourself and your practice.
So I started in the industry in about 2006. I started working on the carrier side as a property adjuster, worked for a couple carriers. After that, I decided to work for as an independent agent. So I worked for him about 1.5 years, and then I started my agency about 5 years ago. So my agency, we focus on property and casualty, life and health insurance for business and commercial use.
Very good. Now, you've got a family too, don't you?
I do. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and I'm married. My wife, Kimberly, she works for here in the city as well.
Wow. So you are an extremely busy man. Now, I understand you also played some football.
Just a tad bit of football. Played for Ball State University.
Hear that, Cardinals fans? This is a Ball State. What'd you play?
I played defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle.
Absolutely.
You're one of the guys that got your uniform dirty.
Just a couple of times.
So this prepared you well for this industry because you've got to do a lot of bulldozing to get through this, don't you?
It spends a lot of time in the trenches, yes.
Now, how did you become involved with NAIA?
Initially, one of my colleagues introduced me to NAIA, and so we went to a local meeting and kind of just got involved from there. After I became an agent, that's when I became involved with NAIA.
Very good. Now, how have you found your affiliation with NAIA to go?
NAIA's been really good. It's helped me to understand a little bit more about the industry. I didn't know too much about NAIA when I was on the carrier side, which I thought would help me out a little bit there. Ultimately, once I got to go to a conference, got to see other people and meet other folks who kind of looked like me, who did the same things as I did, who that we probably don't always get to see locally. Gave me a better opportunity to understand what NAIA and how it can help others in the industry as well.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about NAIA and its mission.
So NAIA's mission it was created in 1997 by Gerald Tillman, and he's an independent agent. So he started it and created it for people of color and others, and to kind of help network within the industry. And ever since then, we've developed 17 chapters across the country. There's also a chapter in the Caribbean, as well as that supports the Lloyd's of London market.
I also understand that part of NAIA's mission is not just to support the agent in the field, but to break through the color barrier in insurance companies to get African Americans into those executive suites.
Absolutely. So it has really become twofold: to support the agency force as well as support the carrier representatives. So get folks in the C-suites and help those in the middle market and middle management as well.
Now, how is that working on the local level? What do you do on the local level to help achieve that?
Local level, in our chapter, we welcome anyone that's in the industry. And so what that kind of looks like is we have carrier representatives, we have folks who are underwriters, folks that are in the claims department, marketing, they could be an attorney. So anyone who is in the industry, there's a seat at the table with NAIA for them.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. We do want to have a big tent.
Right.
Now, how could NAIFA help with that mission?
So NAIFA, I think we have pretty much the common goal. The best way I think that we could help, you guys wanted to help with advocacy and membership, and that's what we want to do too. In regards to advocacy, help folks understand how they can get resources through NAIA, as well as help our members grow in their professional development as well as their personal development.
Now, we just attended a joint event yesterday at Day on the Hill with NAIFA and NAIA. How do you think that went as far as working together?
I think it went really well. The thing that really drove it home for me was that you have to be in the room to be able to have a conversation, to understand what's going on, and to have an effect in your community. And so to me, I think that was a really great opportunity to do that yesterday.
Again, your organization was established primarily to support African Americans. How is an African American's experience in this industry different than, say, somebody who looks like me?
Well, I think our industry reflects society, right? And so, in our society, there hasn't always been a direct relationship in regards to folks having access to information, knowledge, education, and opportunities. And so one of the things that I think that as an African American, that some of the hindrances have been, being able to have access to the markets, being able networking, generational knowledge as well. So, those are the kind of things that I think that really can help on and the African American community.
And how do you feel you feel like that's progression? You think things are getting better?
I think some things are getting better, but we can always improve, right? There are some networks that are working, but there are a lot that are not. But I think that, over time, I think things will get better.
As an African American insurance professional, what do you think your biggest challenge is?
The biggest challenge is just access to some of that knowledge and access to resources. And as an agent, access to marketing and access to markets. So being able to get those policies in place.
What do you think your greatest challenge is right now?
My greatest challenge, the greatest challenge I think I feel right now is being able to just duplicate myself, and grow the business. Growing in the way that we need to in the industry.
So what is the primary focus of your personal business?
60% of my business is commercial business.
Okay.
And, rest is going to be personal line business.
How do you find working with those businesses go?
I love working with business. As an adjuster, I work a lot with businesses. And so I feel that's a real comfort zone for me.
Coming back to working with other organizations, we had a lot of organizations at Day on the Hill yesterday. How do you think we can best work together going forward to promote everybody in the industry? I mean, we want to have a tide that floats all boats.
Right. And I don't think it's just one culture, one sect or another. I think all tides raise the boat, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think the more hands on deck, the better opportunities we all have, and at the end of the day, you want to be able to network and work with folks, from all walks of life.
Well, I think I can speak for NAIFA when we say we're going to continue to invite NAIA to as many of our events as we can convince them to come to. And we certainly are open to invitations from your organization as well.
Absolutely. We look forward to working with NAIFA as well and, creating opportunities for one another, as well as finding how can we increase, as we have more folks who are leaving the industry, how can we bring more folks into the industry as well? So,
what do you like to tell our members, either about NAIA or Black History Month or whatever you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things I would just like to inform everyone is that, we as NAIA members, we welcome NAIFA in regards to working with one another. I think there's a lot of opportunity that we still have yet to uncover, and we look forward to working with everyone.
Well, thank you, Ralph. I hope this is the beginning of a great relationship.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Ralph, for sharing your conversation. We look forward to developing a closer relationship with NAIA in the coming months and years. February is also Disability Awareness Month. Many of us think of disability income insurance as an employer benefit or as a standalone product for the self-employed. But most people can't survive very long on the benefits offered by those products alone. We're joined today by Sherwood Waggy to tell us about his experience with supplemental disability insurance. Sherwood, welcome to NAIFA-Indiana Update. We're glad to have you today.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm happy to join you. Thank you.
Sherwood, would you tell us a little bit about your experience with supplemental disability insurance?
Yes. When I took out my life insurance policy in my mid-40s, I was working with Chris Barnthouse in central Indiana. I lived there at the time. He mentioned supplemental disability insurance to me. I hadn't thought about it at all. I was interested in a whole life insurance policy, but the statistics that he presented were very compelling. The likelihood was very good. I don't remember, it might have been as good as 1 in 4 that sometime between then in my mid-40s and when I would retire in my mid-60s, I would be likely to experience some kind of temporary disability. So I did buy that portion I did buy that policy in addition to my life insurance policy. The cost was not significant, and I just paid it along with my premium each quarter or each year. It wasn't more than 7 or 8 years later, I was in a very serious automobile accident. I was the passenger in the front seat of a car that was T-boned by a car going about 60 or 65 miles an hour. And I had a skull fracture, very, very life-threatening. I ended up being helicoptered up to Parkview Hospital in Fort Wayne and was on a ventilator for about 7 or 8 days. And then I was in rehab for quite a while. I had been working originally as an employee, but then became a consultant. As a result of being out of work, I also had no kind of disability backup or anything of that sort. I had purchased the supplemental disability because I did have disability through my employer. But then when I lost the employer job and took work as a consultant, certainly I didn't have any sort of disability through that. I was paid by the hour as a wage, all inclusive. Anyway, when I was in the hospital and then in rehab, my supplemental disability policy, as I vaguely recall, Chris called me before I ever contacted Northwestern. I don't know how the organization knew, but one of the things that impressed me was that people contacted me periodically to make sure that I was receiving my payments. I just felt like Northwestern Mutual was on board with keeping track of what was going on with me and whether I was receiving my benefits and so forth. I found that it was a benefit that I really appreciated, and I would never have dreamed beforehand that it would be so. I eventually recovered completely, maybe loss of some hearing, but I have to tell you that from being in a situation where I was really on the edge of death for a period of a week or so, was a miracle. There were actually 3 physicians who used the word miracle for my return to health and my ability about 8 or 9 months later to begin to work part-time and eventually begin working full-time again in a white-collar profession that is a knowledge-based profession. So it's a miracle that I returned, but I just want to say that supplemental disability policy was a very fortunate thing to have.
Sherwood, thank you so much for sharing your compelling story with us. I'm glad that you've fully recovered, and I'm grateful you were able to join us today. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
It is an honor and privilege to serve as the president of NAIFA-Indiana for the next 2 years, and I appreciate the confidence that you and your peers have placed in me and the talented professionals that volunteer to serve with me on the NAIFA-Indiana board. I particularly want to thank immediate past President Joe Serta for his outstanding leadership in serving our association during some of the most challenging times, and we have in fact come out to be a stronger association under his leadership. Thank you, Joe. I also want to thank each of you for your continued loyal membership to NAIFA. As you know, we are a member-driven organization, and we are responsive and accountable to you. And we are looking forward to hearing from you as a member so that we can continue to meet your professional needs. Therefore, I want to take just a few moments to share with you the vision that I and the board have to serve the evolving needs of our members here in Indiana. As you will recall, last year in 2021, NAIFA-Indiana engaged our membership in our strategic planning process. And I am excited that the future that together we have envisioned for our association. The 3 pillars of our strategic plan are member experience, membership growth, and brand amplification. This process has informed the board as we worked with the NAIFA-Indiana staff to create the professional experience you have requested. First and foremost, you requested a return to live and in-person events, and I am happy to share with you that we will be providing those. While you will be receiving more information separately, I'm excited to share with you just a few highlights of what you can expect this year. As always, we will be hosting a series of in-person and virtual professional development events that are designed not only to meet your CE requirements, but to hone your skills as one of the top professionals in our industry through the quality of our presenters and the opportunities to engage with your peers. Next, I'm happy to share that we will again have an opportunity to participate in our NAIFA-Indiana golf outing this summer. Last year, this event turned out to be one of our most engaging member experiences with an outstanding participation. You will not want to miss out on the excitement that is planned for this year's NAIFA-Indiana golf outing. And I'm excited to share that we are planning a return to our much anticipated annual summit. While we had a very successful event last fall, including the Jack Peckinpah Banquet, which honored our own Kyle Sear, held in the beautiful Eli Lilly House and conference space at Conner Prairie, you will want to be sure to attend this year's event, which, in addition to being a lot of fun, will feature some outstanding speakers, including an exciting keynote speaker that I know you will be talking about for years to come. And we have many more surprises in store. Watch for more details. This concludes our NAIFA-Indiana update. Watch your emails and go to our website to stay informed about upcoming events. We're looking forward to welcoming you back to participating in your association in the format that you're most comfortable with, and we hope that for many of you, that will be in person. And I encourage you to not keep NAIFA a secret. Share this resource with your professional peers and know that there are now tiered membership levels to meet the budget needs of new professionals in the first 5 years in the profession. I know that I find value in my membership every year, and I know that you do too. And the more you engage in all that we have to offer, the more value you will receive for your membership investment. We are facing many challenges, but together we can take on anything. Thank you.